الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Please repeat after me. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله
الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله
وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا حبيب الله
وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا حبيب الله.
الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله
الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله
وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله.
وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله.
نويت سنة الاعتكاف.
نويت سنة الاعتكاف.
My dear Islamic brothers and respected elders, please come closer and in respect of this talk, try to sit in the at-tahiyat position. If you get tired, then sit in any position you find comfortable. Lower your gaze and listen to the talk with full concentration. Because by looking here and there, by playing on the floor with your finger, or by messing around with your phone, clothes, body or hair, it is possible that you may not gain all the blessings, as these are forms of distraction. It has been narrated that whosoever recites salawat and salam, peace and blessings or durood, 50 times per day upon the leader of all mankind, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then on the day of judgment, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would shake his hand. My dear Islamic brothers, let's contemplate upon this for a moment. The companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to collect his blessed sweat and use it as perfume. Imagine if this is the state of the blessed sweat, what will be the state of the blessed body that produced that sweat? Let us all make an intention, inshallah, to always send peace and blessings and durood upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let's all try to gain this status and shake Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's hand on the day of judgment. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Inshallah azza wa jal, in today's talk, I will try to focus on one of the most destructive diseases of the heart that most of us suffer from or have suffered from it. This disease is like no other. A disease of the heart that has been ignored for some time. We know everything regarding worldly affairs. We know who the Prime Minister is of this country. We know who the opposition party is. We know the names of the royal family. We know which teams are ranked at the top. We know which teams have played with which teams. We know their league positions. We know what is happening in this country and in that country and in this city and in that city. Our eyes are on the world economies. We know all about inflation and recession, advancement and technologies. We know all about the sciences and physics surrounding our existence. We know all this general knowledge of the worldly affairs, but do we know the greatest knowledge of all? Do we know our obligations? Do we know our purpose of creation? Do we or can we explain the ruling of faraid, our fard knowledge? Unfortunately, only a handful of people or a very few know this great knowledge. Let me ask you a question. If someone has all the knowledge of the worldly affairs, would his book of deeds get recorded with good deeds? Or, if he doesn't have the worldly knowledge, would he be questioned on the day of judgment as to why he didn't have this general knowledge? Why didn't he know who the president was of such and such country? Why didn't he know the laws and rules regarding economy and budgets? These are the types of questions that we are dedicating all of our life in trying to find answers to, and hence have become totally negligent to our purpose of creation, which was to worship Allah Almighty. My dear Islamic brothers and respected elders, we are not going to be asked on the day of judgment about these worldly questions. There are some actions and knowledge that all of us should know and adhere to. There is some knowledge that has been made obligatory for us to learn. If we don't know these, then on the day of judgment, we could face the torments of hell. Now tell me, which knowledge should we all be worried about gaining? Until we realize what our allergies are, that if we eat, we get a bad throat or a bad stomach, until we can understand that due to such and such foods or products we can be in pain, it is then that one will save himself from such foods. Similarly, until we realize that putting your hand in fire, your hand will burn, and if it burns with the fire of this world, how painful it will be, until we can understand the reality and think to ourselves, how will one survive the fire of hell, which will be 70 times hotter than the fire of this world? Today, we will look into such a disease which is referred to as one of the diseases of the heart, badgumani, negative thinking. Remember, sin or deed, whether we try to refrain from it or commit it. We need to realize that when it comes to committing sins via our physical body, one can try to refrain from it. One may think, I'm not going to commit sins by my hand, so he saves his hand from it. I'm not going to commit sins by my eyes, so he saves his eyes from unlawful gazing. I'm not going to lie from my mouth, so he saves his mouth from unlawful speech. But what about the heart? How are we going to save the heart? We have managed to save our limbs from committing sins, but what is the state of the heart? Is the heart satisfied that we have saved ourselves for the pleasure of Allah Almighty, or is the heart indulged in these fantasies of these sins? We need to keep this vital organ controlled. Heart diseases are very common around the world. That this person is a heart sufferer and that person is a heart sufferer. But the truth is, if we all diagnose ourselves by a spiritual doctor, then you will find that most of us here will probably be patients of the heart. No, not that disease of high cholesterol or high blood pressure. No, but the true illness of the heart, which in return our heart is committing sin. It has been narrated in the Holy Quran, Parah 15, Surah Bani Israel, verse 36, translation from the glorious Kanzul Iman. No doubt the ears and the eyes and the heart will all be questioned. Commentating on this verse, Allama Muhammad bin Ahmad Ansari Qurtubi rahmatullah alayh has written in Tafsir Qurtubi that all parts of the body will be questioned. The eyes, what did you see? The ears, what did you hear? The tongue, what did you say? And the heart will be asked, what did you think? My dear Islamic brothers, it is clear that even the heart will be made to answer in front of the Lord Azza wa Jal. So if the heart is on the right path, it will do good deeds and hence it will make the limbs do good deeds. But if the heart is not on the right path, it will lead to your destruction and the final destination of hell. The qalb, the heart, is sometimes satisfied and happy, and sometimes empty and angry, sometimes generous and sometimes stingy, sometimes so respectable and humble even towards animals, and sometimes the complete opposite even towards elders. Sometimes the heart feels guilty when it misses out on an opportunity to do good deeds, but other times it doesn't think twice on committing sins. Sometimes the heart does not even complain when a misfortune or difficulty arises, and sometimes so little patience. Sometimes the heart is full with the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, that even just thinking about committing a sin will make it tremble. And sometimes such negligence that it doesn't even cross its mind, completely and utterly fearless. Sometimes the heart has such enthusiasm for the love of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that it is only living for the sake of Allah Almighty and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And sometimes the love of this world entraps the heart so much that it thinks this world is the only life. Sometimes the heart shows such love and care towards brothers in looking after them that even if it means making a loss for itself, but other times for personal gains it will do so much, even to the extent of taking something from another Muslim. Sometimes the heart shows such modesty that it will ignore areas of sin, whereas other times it would sit in the ring of such public indecency social gatherings. This is the heart, my dear Islamic brothers. Look at the heart and how it's always changing. Sometimes the heart shows such generosity in giving charity and such authority in not receiving haram or of that of interest. Sometimes the heart has so much love for money of this world that even when it has so much, it is still busy in trying to get more and more. We should look deep into the changing of the heart and examine ourselves. The beloved of Allah, the mercy for all mankind, the beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam supplicated to Allah Almighty, "O Allah Azza wa Jal, you know what is in the hearts, and you can change the hearts. Put my heart in the service of your deen." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam supplicated to have his heart in the path of deen. But what about us today? When was the last time we supplicated? Have you ever asked Allah Almighty to set your heart on the deen of Islam? Today, this disease of the heart, thinking negative about someone, badgumani, su'edan, thinking negative about someone, is so common in our daily lives that we don't even know what good deeds we are missing out on. A pious man narrates that I went to a masjid to pray, where I saw a businessman sitting, and near him was a poor person doing dua. He was supplicating to Allah Almighty by asking, "Oh Allah Azza wa Jal, today I wish to eat this type of food and this type of dessert." The businessman, after listening to this supplication, started to think negative about this person and said, "If he had just asked me for some food, I would have definitely got him. But he is deliberately pretending to do dua, so I can hear him, and as a result he thinks I will get him the food. No way. Honestly, I'm not going to feed him anything." The man, after finishing supplicating, went to one corner of the masjid and went to sleep. After a while, another man walked inside the masjid with some food in his hand. He looked left and right and then went into the corner and awoke this poor man and in a very humble way gave him the food. The businessman could not believe his eyes that a person has just come into the masjid and got this man the food which he had supplicated to Allah Almighty for. The poor man ate some of the food and returned the rest. The businessman asked the person who bought the food, "Do you know this person?" The man replied, "No, of course not. I am a laborer. My wife and daughter had this wish all year that they wished to eat such food, but it wasn't possible. But today at work I found some gold and managed to get some meat and so on and brought it home. My wife was busy in preparing the food, in which time I fell asleep. And would you believe, whilst asleep my fortune arose and I was blessed with the vision of the Prophet of all prophets, the beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who said to me, today in your village, a pious friend of Allah Azza wa Jal is resting in a masjid. The food which is being prepared for your family, take it to the friend of Allah Azza wa Jal, as he has also wished to eat this food. I want you to take this food for him. He will eat what he needs to and will return the rest back to you. Allah Almighty in return will bless you in your sustenance, and I will guarantee you a place in heaven." I woke up and straight away came looking for this friend of Allah Azza wa Jal. The businessman explained how he heard the pious man supplicating for the food. He then asked the man, "How much did the food cost you?" The man replied, "X amount of gold." The businessman said, "I will give you 10 times that in return. You give me some part of this good deed." The man replied, "This can't be done." The businessman then asked again, and this time he said he was willing to give 20 times more. The man replied, "No." The businessman went up to 50 and then 100 times the amount, and the person who bought the food replied, "Honestly, for what the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given me, if you were to give me all the wealth of this world, I will still not do a deal with you. If this was in your luck, then you would have been able to get this reward before me, but Allah Almighty chose who He wished." The businessman, knowing he had just missed out on this reward, then walked out of the masjid and went home. My dear Islamic brothers, look at this negative thinking, negative approach. Look at that wealthy businessman, yet so far from earning a good deed. If he had helped that poor man, who knows how much or what would have been written in his record of deeds. Me and you should realize that morning till evening, what are we thinking about other Muslims today? When looking at someone's face, what are we thinking? When looking at someone's dress sense, what are we thinking? When looking at someone's personality, what are we thinking? When looking at someone crying, what are we thinking? When looking at someone's business, what are we thinking? When looking at someone's food, looking at someone's house, car, morning till night, we are thinking negative, negative, negative. Who knows how many sins are being collated in our record of deeds? My dear Islamic brothers and respected elders, our pious predecessors say, to backbite, to lie, you need another person or persons to tell. In other words, when we are lying, we are talking to someone, a partner. Or badgumani is such a disease that a believer is all alone in his room and he is committing this sin and his record of deeds is getting filled and filled by sin. This is such a disease, such an illness that is ripping through our society so fast that we no longer think of this as a sin or a disease. Allah Almighty says in the Holy Quran, Parah 26, Surah Hujarat, verse 12, "O believers, avoid most suspicion. Verily some suspicion is a sin, and do not look out for faults, and do not backbite one another." Hazrat Sayyidina Allama Abdullah Abu Umar bin Muhammad Shirazi Bedawi Rahmatullah alayhi says in Tafsir Bedawi, Muslims should ponder and realize that the person who holds negative thinking is indeed committing a great sin. There are two types of thinkings: negative thinking and good positive thinking, which is called husn zan. Negative thinking has been defined as gunai kabira, a severe sin, a big sin. However, negative thinking in certain situations and circumstances is permissible. But to think negative about everyone and everything is a bad habit. A permissible negative thinking is, in this instance, is that if you actually see someone within your own eyes on a regular basis on the streets in your area, drinking alcohol, stealing, etc. But to think of someone, to think of a Muslim that he might be like this is not allowed. Sadr Sharia Badr Tariqa, Mufti Amjad Ali Azmi Rahmatullah alayhi writes, "No doubt negative thinking upon a Muslim is haram, But if you see someone coming in and out of a pub, then that is permissible as he, the individual, has brought this thinking upon himself by publicly sinning. Sayyidatuna Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu ta'ala anha narrates that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whoever thinks negative about his Muslim brother, no doubt he has thought negative about his Lord and Creator Allah Azza wa Jalla. But today, which house is saved from negative thinking? Which house is saved from bad thinking? My dear Islamic brothers, a question arises here that we saw someone and then we saw his actions and a negative thought was developed in our heart. For example, all of a sudden, out of nowhere you're thinking, how on earth has he become so wealthy and rich? And then another thought has come into your heart that this money he has is probably not earned it in a halal manner. A thought in the heart, it happens. As just as this thought appears, would you say that that person who is thinking this is sinful? Then, that he has just done a haram act by thinking negative about someone. You know, we see someone who yesterday was on buses and bikes, and today he is driving the latest 4x4. Our mental approach has been adopted to think in this negative way. So just by thinking in your heart, do you become sinful? Someone is crying in the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, and a thought appears in our heart that this person is showing off. He's crying to show us he's pious. So by thinking like this, will you become sinful? At what stage does this thinking become a sin? So when a thought comes into our heart that this person is crying to show off, if we genuinely believe that this can't be true and that he is crying because of the fear of Allah Almighty, then this would be considered okay, as you have made the thought go away. But if you think, nah, he's showing off, and hold this thought in your heart, then this is wrong. And if you then come to that conclusion that you fully believe and are certain he is showing off, then you are sinful even if you didn't actually say the words. Remember, this is that dreadful disease that even if someone does not say a word, even if someone is in his room on his own, these thoughts are in his heart. Then how unfortunate is he that he is drowning in sins and he doesn't even know that he is sinning. From this we realize what negative thinking is and why it is forbidden. We are living in a society where negative thinking has become a major problem. In a society where people say, I don't hold negative thinking about others. Okay, it's a sin, people probably do it, but I don't do it. This is also a problem that we have, that when we go to gatherings of knowledge, such as these ijtimas of Dawat Islami, we think that this talk is not for us but for others. Meaning, the muballigh, the speaker who is doing his talk, he is not addressing his speech at me, it is for others. And then you will see them looking around at others and nodding their head saying, you listening, huh? You're listening to what the speaker is saying. Why don't you, my dear Islamic brothers, listen? This talk is addressed for all of you, including myself. As I said at the start, this disease of the heart is such a disease that the father, the mother, the son, the daughter, father-in-law, mother-in-law, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, officer, neighbor, worker, ruler, laborer, carer are all indulged and affected by this sin. A mere suspicion should not be allowed to result in the accusation of an innocent person. It is reported in the Sahih of Bukhari that the Prophet ﷺ said, avoid suspicion because your suspicion is the greatest lie. You phone someone and they don't answer. That's it. You see, before he was with me all the time, everywhere we went, everything we did, he was together. And now, just because he's got some money come his way, he don't even answer my calls anymore. Whenever he needs something, I'm the first one he rings. Today, when I need him, he's not even answering his call. This needle of our thinking, why do we think in this negative manner right from the start? Why can't we think that maybe he's reading his salah, maybe his phone is on silent, maybe he is resting? When was it made wajib for him to answer your call? But no, because he didn't answer the phone, you have got yourselves a gunai kabira, a great sin written in your record of deeds. Think to yourselves, how many times in the day does this happen? We phone and the brother don't answer. We phone again, he still don't answer. Then we try ringing him later on and this time he answers. And the first thing you say, alright bro, you don't even answer my calls nowadays. You know I was calling you, you didn't answer on purpose. Busy were we? Before we even give the brother a chance to speak, we have already given him 10 reasons why he didn't answer the call. And what does he say in the end? I didn't answer because I was reading my salah. Then it hits us, oh dear, you're embarrassed now. I've said all this, if only I stayed quiet and asked beforehand. But this is too late, the damage has been done. Okay, we invited someone to our house, he ain't come, and what's going through your mind? Oh, he don't bother with us poor people, he only goes to wealthy friends. Look at this negative thinking. The guest hasn't even arrived yet. Maybe he's had a puncture on his car. Maybe his car's broken down. Maybe he's got caught up in something important. The next day you see him in the street, and that's it. You don't even ask him how he is. You're tongue just starts like a motor in your mouth that doesn't stop. And then in the end, when he gets a chance to put in a word edgeways, he says, I didn't come because I wasn't feeling well and that I had some tablets and fell asleep. It hits us again. It's happened again. You're embarrassed again. Now if only you had just stayed quiet and asked beforehand. But again, this is too late. The damage has been done. It would be very difficult to take the words back. Just think, what is happening to us? Why can't we think good? Why can't we think positive about our Muslim brothers? It is narrated that Hazrat Isa alayhi salam once saw someone stealing with his own eyes. He was an eyewitness. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam said, you have just stolen. The man replied, honest to God, I haven't. And you know what Hazrat Isa alayhi salam says? Hazrat Isa alayhi salam says, oh, maybe my eyes have misseen it. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam goes on to say, a Muslim believer is saying he did not steal. Maybe my eyes are playing games with me. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam took back his words. But what about us today? We get ready to swear in the name of Allah Almighty. No. I know 100% that this car is bought. He's bought it with interest money. I know he has. Okay, do you really know? Did you go give that check on his behalf? Did you hand over the money? Why are you thinking negative? Later on, we find out by another source that someone borrowed him the money to buy the car. All this negative thinking that's been going on. His car and you're doing the haram actions. He's bought a new mobile phone and your tongue is rolling with negative after negative comments. You think to yourselves, my dear Islamic brothers, why do we have this negative thinking and where does it come from? For all those responsible brothers of Dawat Islami sitting in this gathering, think to yourselves. Take for instance, we hold a Madani Mashwara. Mashwara meaning a meeting for brothers to discuss work in their areas. And one brother arrives late. Now if the responsible brother in the meeting says, couldn't you come on time? Is this the time to come? Where is our husn zan? Where is our positive thinking? Later on, we find out that he had to get medication for his ill mother, and on the way he had a problem with his car. He just about made it to the gathering because he has respect for the person in charge, and he's trying to obey his orders. We've done it again, we're embarrassed again, and in front of everyone, because of our negative thinking, that brother may not come in the future. This is what happens. We could have spoken to him on the side afterwards. Is everything okay? Do you need any help? Have you any problems? This way, even if he came late due to his laziness, he would have next time come on time because of the way he was treated. And even if the brother is in difficulty or genuinely has a problem, we should be supplicating, should be doing dua for him. Think about it yourselves. How would you feel if someone spoke to you in this way? Then we have the negative thinking between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, where if one is doing a pious good deed or action, the other thinks she is doing some sort of black magic on the house. If someone opens a new business, a new shop opposite yours, and that person is a pious man who reads his salah, reads the Holy Quran and tasbih, and has the habit of doing this constantly even when it's at his shop, that's it. The negative thinking starts knocking on the door. This guy's up to something. He's going to take my trade. He's going to take my customers. Whenever you see him, he's reading something. Whenever you see him, he's always looking at my shop. Now this pious man is earning reward, gaining good deeds, but we are indulged in negative thinking and earning sins. We should be thinking, look how lucky this person is, that Allah Almighty has blessed him so much that he is worshipping his Creator even when at work. We should make him our friend so that he makes us like him. But there's us, just a negative mind frame. We make a loss in our business, we won't think it's our fault, or what I may have done wrong. Straight away, we think, that's it, someone's done us over. Is it not the case that maybe, just maybe, you have done the ordering wrong? Maybe you have done the purchasing wrong? Maybe you have done the pricing wrong? Maybe you have done the labeling wrong? No, it's so and so. He's been after me for a while hoping my business gets ruined. Negative thinking. Similarly, we attend an ijtima. We're talking about worldly affairs. The rejected shaitan, he makes us think negative even in good deeds. We come to the ijtima and the mic is not working. The heating is not on. The lights are too dim. Now here, one would start getting negative thoughts. Oh, these people can't even organize a gathering. Why did they call us if they can't even prepare? Now ask the organizers who do this on a weekly basis to make it a success. And okay, maybe they have made a mistake. We're all humans, it happens. Now, what has been the point of you coming here to the masjid, to the ijtima? You came with the intention of earning good deeds. But what a shame that you have thought negative and will go away sinful. My dear Islamic brothers, there's plenty of examples within friendships, within businesses, within homes, within ijtimas, within organizations, and within the works of deen. We should ask ourselves whether we are on the positive approach or negative approach. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala wasallam. The ulama write, you should make dua, you should supplicate that Allah Almighty blesses a person who holds negative thinking. Okay? So we should keep thinking positive and the negative thoughts will disappear. But dear Islamic brothers, no one is perfect. Therefore, we must look at our own condition critically before we raise our finger towards another person. It takes a courageous man to look at his own faults. Once he starts to observe himself, he will refrain from thinking negative about others. And at this point, I think it's fair to mention that we all know what weekend this is. This is the weekend that has just passed, was what? New Year's Eve. The 31st of December has just passed. This is the so-called New Year's Eve weekend. But dear Islamic brothers, how many of our brothers and sisters were out there on the streets? At the stroke of 12 o'clock, how many of our brothers and sisters were out there? Let me tell you. Our Muslim brothers and sisters were out there partying and clubbing. Our Muslim brothers and sisters were out there drinking alcohol and getting wasted. Our Muslim brothers and sisters were out there destroying their modesty. Our Muslim families with children and teenage girls were out there in the town centres getting excited about live performances and firework displays. Our Muslim families and children and teenage girls were out there all dressed up without any shame in restaurants way past midnight. Is this what Islam teaches us? That when a blessing arrives, you celebrate it in this manner. You're going to thank your Lord for the new year whilst doing such acts. Why are we following the Western traditions and culture? Are we ashamed of who we are? We are Muslims. Alhamdulillah, we are Muslims. We are believers. We should be proud to be Muslims. How many of us know that our Islamic New Year has just gone? How many of us know that we are now in the first month of Muharram? How many of us know that we are in the year 1432? What a shame. What a bad state to be in. Where is our Iman? Where is our faith in Allah Almighty? Where is our belief in Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam? Where is our belief in the Holy Quran? What examples are we setting for our children and our communities? Let's all make an intention that inshallah Azza wa Jal, from now on, no matter what, whenever New Year's Eve comes, we will inshallah Azza wa Jal celebrate it according to Sharia. Inshallah Azza wa Jal. Whenever a New Year comes, if you want to celebrate the New Year, then why don't you celebrate it by reading 2 rakat for Salatul Tawbah? You want to celebrate it, why don't you celebrate it by reading 2 rakat for Shukrana? You want to celebrate it, why don't you celebrate it by raising your hands and supplicating to Allah Almighty? You want to celebrate it, then why don't you celebrate by standing, facing towards Medina and sending peace and blessings upon Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Some of you are probably thinking that this guy is a bit harsh, a bit over the top. Some of you are probably thinking that we should give you at least something to do, that we should be a bit easy. These are the whispers of the shaitan. Islam is perfect. Islam is the way of life. You have the salah, you have the namaz. What is better than the namaz? What is better than prostrating before your creator and sustainer? Our purpose of creation was to worship Allah Almighty. But okay, if you want to celebrate the new year, or if you want to celebrate any event that's happening, then let's celebrate it by traveling in the way of Allah Almighty, by traveling in the form of a Madani Qafila. Let's save ourselves from committing sins. Let's learn about the destructions of negative thinking. Alhamdulillah, brothers here have come. This is part of our Madani Qafila. The Qafila left on New Year's Eve and stayed in the local masjid in Birmingham, where the brothers of commentary also joined us. And Alhamdulillah, what a blessing it is that on a night where you could say the majority of Muslims were out there in the pubs and clubs celebrating, are these certain brothers who Allah Almighty picked, were sitting in the house of Allah Almighty gaining good deeds. Inshallah, make an intention that maybe next year, or even not next year, let's think of next week or the week after or next month, that you also are involved in these works as well. Let's hold tight onto the deen of Islam and the environment of Dawat Islami that teaches us and makes it our mission that we must try to rectify ourselves and the people of the whole world. Inshallah Azza wa Jal. If you truly want to save yourselves, then inshallah Azza wa Jal, let's acquire this sacred knowledge. Let's learn about our beautiful deen. May Allah Almighty make us all sincere in this striving. May Allah Almighty keep us away from the destructions of negative thinking, so that we may stand before Him on the last day with a pure and clean heart. May Allah Almighty make us all have that intention and that courage to go on in search of knowledge so that paradise can come in search of us. Ameen. Bijahi Nabil Ameen. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.